Hi, I'm Mike Coyle, and you're watching Inside Exploration. Today I'm here with Bob Archer, Director and CEO of Newrange Gold Corp, listed on the TSX Venture under NRG. Bob, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Mike, it's always a pleasure. Good to see you again.
So since the last time we talked, you took a very bullish position in Newrange. You want to talk to us about what led you to buy 1 million shares in the company?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a combination of factors, not the least of which is timing. As you're aware, insiders of a company are often sitting on material information, whether it's financial or technical, whatever. And when they have that information, they're obviously blacked out from the market. Otherwise, you'd be guilty of insider trading. So, there was an opportunity there where we were in between results. We didn't have any material information. And I just liked the way things were developing with the new exploration model, the results that we had up to that date. Of course, I didn't know anything about the results we got subsequent to that, which have been terrific. And so I just took the opportunity to add to my position. I was pretty bullish on where things were going, and so just decided to step into the market and pick up a few extra shares.
Well, I know quite a few shareholders that raised their eyebrows when you did that and decided to jump in as well. It's always a good sign when the CEO is buying the stock. So let's talk about some of your exploration. P20-115, that's a step out from the Merrit decline. I was always under the impression that area is kind of all drilled out. Now that you're stepping out, you hit something similar in nature, or are these flat-lying structures different from what we're seeing at Merrit?
From what we've seen, and it is only one hole, that the geology does look very similar. It was essentially a geology hole. There really isn't a lot to go on its surface, and because the mineralization there is oxidized, it doesn't really show up very well on the IP either. But as you mentioned, the Merrit zone itself is reasonably well drilled off, and it didn't really make a lot of sense to just keep drilling more holes in the same place. We're not going to add any ounces doing that, but there were a few areas that around there that hadn't been tested, and this was one of them. And so we came up with some great results that we're obviously very happy with, and very similar in style to the Merrit zone, where we get these high grade structures surrounded by lower grade material, but it's the kind of thing that we don't, with RC drilling. It's very difficult to determine which way these structures are dipping or striking, and so we'll need some adjacent holes and holes underneath and on top to really try and get a better understanding of which way these things are trending. So that will come with the next round of drilling, and we'll see how far this extends. But at the moment, it's completely open to the east and to the north for several hundred meters, and the closest drilling in that direction is way over at Gold Box Canyon, which is over in the next valley. So we've got about, I think it's something like 600 meters in that direction, with no drilling at all. So this is really very encouraging. It's quite open, and if we can get some similar results with adjacent holes and prove that this zone is bigger than just a one hole wonder, then it's going to be very significant.
So just to be clear, this hole wasn't targeting the IP, any of the IP anomalies that you're doing, but holes
Correct.
112 and 113, those were meant to test around that P20-91, I believe it was. Talk to us
Yes,
about what you're seeing in those holes.
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially calling that the 91 zone now, because that 91 was kind of a discovery hole, in the sense that it found a new style of mineralization that we hadn't seen before on the project, and it consisted of sort of widespread gold associated with very fine grained pyrite over a larger area. And granted, the grades are lower than what we see over at Merrit, but nonetheless, spread over a wider area, such that we could be looking at something that is amenable to a larger scale open pit mining operation. And so when we followed up with that, hole 91 was targeted on a little offshoot IP anomaly, and it's about a kilometer north of the Merrit zone, and about 1.3 north of Pamlico Ridge. And so it's it's not immediately adjacent to it. It's quite separate. And when we followed up with holes 111, 12, 13, and then 117, what we found was that there was actually good continuity between those holes in terms of the style of mineralization, and in fact it was very consistent in terms of the depth below surface. The mineralization starts at between 110 to 120 meters vertically below surface in every single hole. So it is indicating good continuity, and once you get into that mineralized zone, essentially what we're seeing is a series of stacked zones of better grades, separated by zones of lower grade, and then within those zones, especially the upper one, we're seeing higher grades at either the upper and or the lower contact. So it's quite interesting, and it's as I say, quite a different style of mineralization than what we're seeing back over at the Merrit zone. So obviously that'll require a lot more follow-up drilling, and that is still within reach of the RC drill. So we will be able to follow up with the RC rather than having to wait for the diamond drill to follow up on that.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but holes 120 and 121 were a little more focused on that IP anomaly than, say, 112 and 113. And in the news release, it talked about breaking through the limestone and into. Are you into the IP anomaly, or how are 120 and 121? You say there's lots of mineralization there, so talk to us about that.
Yeah. So the way that the geology is in there, there's a ridge that consists of limestone on top, with the volcanics and volcanic sedimentary rocks underneath, and then there's a fault along the western side of that ridge, and holes 91 and 111, 12, 13, 17 are all on the western side of that planet. So there's no limestone there. So when we went up on top of the ridge, that is really right on top of the main IP anomaly, what we had been calling the line 5 anomaly. And so we went up on top, and holes 120 and 121 were drilled quite steeply down through the limestones, to get to the volcanic sedimentary units and the volcanics underneath. And so we did that. We penetrated the limestones, which for the most part are, not really, they're not mineralized, to any great degree. And then we got into the volcanic package underneath, and that's where we start to see the disseminated pyrite, which in turn causes the anomaly. And we saw there was more pyrite in hole 120, but in 121 we did see some copper mineralization as well, as indicated in the release. So it looks like it might be chrysocolla, so secondary copper mineralization, and over about a 15-foot interval. So what that means exactly, we don't know yet. We'll have to wait till we get all the assay results back. And what we're hoping is that there may be some kind of a vector or something there where it shows, whether it's gold, silver, copper, some elements increasing in a certain direction, hopefully down the hole, because those holes could only go to a vertical depth of about 1,000 feet, or just over 300 meters, and then the RC was pretty much at its limits. But we're still in mineralization at that point. So whether we're actually in the best part of the IP anomaly, into the guts of it yet, it's really difficult to say at this point. We haven't hit any actual intrusive rocks yet, and since this is all part of a new exploration model that builds in an intrusive related source. At some point, we would expect to see some indications of intrusive rocks, but we haven't seen that yet, and it could be that we just haven't gone deep enough. So we'll be bringing in the diamond drill to to test those to test the deeper anomalies, essentially. Hopefully within a few weeks.
You jumped ahead of me a bit there, but that's okay. I wanted to talk about your exploration model, because within that release, you also talked about, how some of the facts are guiding you and then some of the theories. So can you talk to us about some of the facts and theories and how you're tying it together and what this really means? Because I don't think everybody really understands that you just went from a high grade story to a multi-million ounce potential deposit here. And it's not just one anomaly you see on your property. You've got what, 2-3 different areas of that look really interesting from the geophysics. So what's your new exploration model?
Right. So this is something that's essentially based on a process, I guess, an approach that I developed about 25 years ago when I was working with Placer Dome. And in this business, an exploration model really comprises two components. There's the sort of what we call the empirical model, which is all based on facts. That's the data. That's what you're collecting with your sampling, with your geochem, your geophysics, your drilling. Those are all facts. Those are the data driven. You can't change that. But as you go along and acquire more data, those data are fed back into the model. And on the genetic side, which is the other component, that's really theory, because nobody really knows for sure how these things form. And we've developed good genetic models over the last number of decades to try and explain how these deposits occur. And this happens with every deposit, every mine that's found, and you get into the details, and they're all a little bit different, but you can construct some basic theories to tie them all together in terms of the process. So when you bring those two together, the data all has to fit. You can't change the data to fit a predetermined genetic model. It has to work the other way around. And but ideally it all comes together nicely. And that's kind of what was missing at Pamlico previously, I think, because there had been so much focus going right back to the first discovery of gold in 1884. So much focus on the high grades in and around the Pamlico Ridge and the old mines and the Merrit zone and so on, that the other occurrences, like up in the northern part at the Lepanta mine, which is a carbonate replacement deposit, going right down south to the skarn zone, which skarn is again an intrusive related type system, and there hadn't really been a cohesive exploration model built to try and understand how or if those all tied together. And essentially that's what we're now doing, we're now seeing. And the key there was really that hole 91, because it showed us that there was a different style of mineralization outside of the high grade zone that was more directly linked to an intrusive type model. And so that allowed us to then kind of step back and say, okay, hang on now, we've got something that where it all starts to make sense. And each of these different areas is, if you think of a big jigsaw puzzle, and as you go through, you build a jigsaw puzzle, and you have a series of smaller pictures that start to evolve, and you only get to a certain point where you start to realize how all of those individual pictures fit together to create a larger picture, a bigger scene. And that's kind of where we're at with this now. That the Merrit zone, the 91 zone, Lepanta, the Skarn zone, those are all little pictures, unto themselves. But now we're starting to see how the bigger picture is evolving, and it's potentially significant. We really like what we see.
On that note, you're going to be bringing in the diamond drill. Do you have any kind of timeline that you have set out for diamond drilling, and or how many holes do you plan on really dropping into this thing now that you've got a pretty good dimension of what you're looking at?
Yeah, we've gone out to a number of contractors for bids, and we have three now, and we're just in the process of evaluating those, and we should be choosing a contractor this week, I believe. And then it's subject to availability of the drills. We had hoped to get going by the end of March, and that's I guess still a possibility depending on which contractor we use. But that's the sort of time frame that we'd like to lean towards. And in terms of the amount, it could be relatively open-ended, but whenever you go out to tender, you have to give the contractor some idea of what to expect. So, we've kind of put in there as a minimum, probably about 5 holes, 2,500 meters, each hole being somewhere in the order of 500 meters deep to give a good cross section, through the the geology and the geophysics. And but that's that's fairly general at this stage. 3 weeks from now, we expect to have more information, and we can refine those targets as we go. The IP that we've been doing, we've expanded it across the entire property, and they should be finished that by the end of this week. And it'll take them roughly another week, maybe 10 days, to construct a final report and interpretation on those results. And that will go a long way towards helping us choose our targets for the diamond drilling.
Okay, so we've covered Nevada. Super excited about what's to come for that. So good luck to you there.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with the North Birch project? You've done some geophysics there. What's the exploration plan for 2021 in Red Lake?
Yeah, that's following similar lines, I guess, in the sense that the IP crew is in there right now, and they should be done in I guess maybe a week to 10 days from now. And once we have those results, then we'll be in a better position to choose the diamond drill targets. And the main target zone, as you know, is along that limb of the iron formation where we've interpreted a big shear zone. And there's gold to the south. There's gold at the Argosy mine, only a few kilometers away. But this particular target horizon has never been drill tested at all, and it's a target that I identified about almost 20 years ago now, and I've wanted to drill it ever since. So I'm eagerly anticipating getting in there and testing this. And it's still sort of high risk, high reward, I guess, in the sense that we don't know what we're going to find. We might find nothing, but if we do find something, we've got 8 kilometers of strike length on this horizon, which could be very significant for us. And we know it's a good target. There's gold in the area, so that's what this business is all about. So we're just in the process of applying for our permits for the diamond drilling right now, and hopefully we'll have those within about 30 days. And talking to diamond drilling contractors there as well, and probably similar size of program, perhaps more holes though, maybe somewhere around 2,500 meters to start, but each hole is probably only going to be about 200 meters at North Birch, so we'll be able to get a lot more holes along that horizon. Rather than, we're not looking for something deep there. We're looking for something that's relatively close to surface.
And have you seen indications of that? I mean, I know you were back on the property, in the fall, late summer of last year. What did you do while you're on the property there?
Yeah, we were there last September, and it was a bit of a reconnaissance visit, as much to look at access as geology. It's a good sized property, and so there's no way that two of us could cover much ground in the space of 2-3 days. So it was more a question of looking to see where we could set up camps, what the terrain was like, what to expect, whether it was winter, summer conditions, and so on. So, we did look around a little bit, took a few samples, but it was more just from a logistical standpoint than anything else.
Well, the geophysics look good. You're in the right area for gold. I mean, the Red Lake mining camp is pretty well known worldwide for its gold production. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the drills come out with in that area. So I know you're excited about it because we've talked about it so many times now.
Yeah.
So
It is, and it's nice to see the activity picking up in the Birch belt as well, because this is the next greenstone belt to the east from Red Lake, and Red Lake is just tied up solid, with companies working there. It's a pretty hot area, and Birch is becoming the same way. I mean, there's not much open ground there anymore. It's very active, and especially First Mining, with their Sprinkle project and advancing that towards production. They've just acquired more property there as well. So it's becoming a very active area, and it's very similar geology to the Red Lake Belt. So there's no reason to think that there can't be some other significant deposits there as well. Sprinkle is almost 5 million ounces, so and it's only about 12 kilometers away from our North Birch project. So there's lots of gold in the area, and I think there's lots more to be found.
Well, Bob, thanks for the update. Really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully the next time we get together, we've got some nice grades to talk about in Nevada, and maybe a discovery up in the Red Lake area.
That'd be awesome, Mike.
Sure would. All right, Bob, thanks. Have a great day.
Okay, thanks a lot. Take care.